Welcome back. Well, Iran's long-range missiles splashed down 100 miles from U.S. Navy ships. Officials confirm exclusively to Fox News. The Revolutionary Guard's drill Saturday, serving as a show of force just days before President Trump leaves office. But Israeli media reports Joe Biden's incoming administration is quietly already holding talks with Tehran to rejoin the 2015 nuclear deal. Let's bring in Fox News senior strategic analyst and retired four-star General Jack Keane. General, thank you so much. Is the Biden administration just blindly going right back to what they thought was the right thing in 2015, regardless of the evidence laid before us of who the Iranians are and what they really want to do?
Yeah, I hope not, Pete, but certainly that seems to be the indication. They did secret talks for well over a year during the Obama administration, and some of the same players who were involved then now have positions inside the Biden administration. One is Wendy Sherman, who was the chief negotiator, and she's going to be the Deputy Secretary of State. The other is Tony Blinken, who's nominated to be Secretary of State, and also Jake Sullivan, who's he's been selected to be the National Security Advisor. So, yes, I think those of us who recognize that the conditions have so dramatically changed that we have increased leverage, not to go back to the original deal, but to get a better deal. One is the Iranians took the money from the sanction relief, and as opposed to becoming a responsible nation, which was one of the goals of the nuclear deal, they increased their malign behavior in the region. Everything got worse. They toppled the Yemen government. They increased resources to the civil war in Syria. They undermined the Iraqi government and targeted U.S. troops. This is what they've been up to for 5 years. Then the second thing is the Trump sanctions are crippling Iran. That gives Biden huge leverage because the Iranians are desperate this time for the deal, much like Obama wanted the deal more than anything else. This time the Iranians are in that position. Let's use that as leverage. And also, we have the Abraham Accords. We have a coalition of Arabs and Israel who are now working against Iran, which is the principal reason why they've come together. We have to use that as leverage and certainly get something out of this. And the other thing, in the past, our negotiators caved in when Iran balked. When we put something on the table and they balked and said, no, we're not doing that, we're going to walk. Well, we should have let them walk. And if that happens this time, let them walk. We have got to be tougher in these negotiations this time than we were the last.
Boy, General, I can sense your frustration. You're a level-headed guy, but you could tell all this evidence is here. Yet here we go again with quiet talks with the Iranians to re-enter a deal that's fatally flawed. I want to get your comment on this as well, though, which you alluded to, the foreign policy in the Middle East. There was an op-ed written by a career diplomat named James Jeffrey. The title, though, is very interesting. It says, Biden doesn't need a new Middle East policy. The Trump administration got the region right. Is there any chance Joe Biden and his team learns from the successes of the Trump administration?
Well, I hope so. Their national security foreign policy team has more experience in the Middle East than they have in any other region of the world. And I think they have huge context in the region as well. And I know Ambassador Jeffries, and I think he's right on the mark here. Here's what he's talking about. Major success is the defeat of the ISIS caliphate in Iraq and Syria, and putting that on fast forward that the Trump administration did, and giving more authorities to the military to conduct those operations as they see fit, not how Washington sees fit. And the second thing we've already mentioned is the Abraham Accords, which is a major paradigm shift in the Middle East that we haven't seen anything like that in decades. Certainly they have to take that into consideration and actually build on it. You know, the other thing that Trump did when he came in, he wanted the United States to do less in the Middle East because he thought it was a trouble spot that we can't get out of, and he wanted the U.S. partners to do more. And that's happened. He lowered the troops in Syria, lowered the troops in Iraq. He supported Turkey fighting the Russians and the Assad regime in Syria, and he supported Israel fighting the Iranian proxies in Syria and also in Iraq. Yes, by and large, all of that has worked. Take it for what it is and build on it. They'll likely never give Trump any credit for doing anything right, I suspect. But the truth is, there has really been some positive movement. And our allies will tell this team that. They'll tell them that, listen, things have changed in 5 years. Take a hard look at where we are.
Let's hope. Let's hope they do, for sure. General, on the topic of foreign policy, you can't talk about it without talking about the communist Chinese these days. And the Fox News channel is doing a special tonight. It's called the China Showdown. It's also airing on Fox Nation in a more extended version. So tonight at 10 p.m. or on Fox Nation. And you were a part of it, and as you should be, on a topic of that size and scope. You talked about multiple things as it pertains to China, but including this.
The value here is a congressman who is sitting on one of the prime and most significant oversight committees in our government, and they know most of the secrets of the United States of America.
General, we're almost out of time, don't have much time. It airs tonight, but the Chinese targeting our leaders is a very real thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're trying to undermine our democracy. It's a massive campaign. It's the most significant attempt to penetrate the United States in our history. The director of the FBI has identified it as such. This is a real threat we got with the Chinese communists, and they're going to put huge pressure on the Biden administration. President Xi's economy's recovered. He's got the wind at his back. He's going to believe the Biden administration is distracted by the COVID and also the economic recovery and climate change. And wait and see. Pressure is going to come very early in the Biden administration out there in the South China Sea and the Taiwan Straits.
So true. And we're distracted, as you mentioned, on climate change, and they're the biggest polluters in the world, ironically. General Jack Keane, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Great stuff.
Yeah, good talking to you, Pete. Have a good day.
You too.